Hi there, I'm Irving, an AutoCAD certified. So today let's learn AutoCAD 2024 in minutes. This is a survey that I did to learn AutoCAD. So the real restroom is here. And again, all of these files I'll be sharing with you to follow along. So let's start. The first thing that we see when we open AutoCAD 2024 is this interface. And if you want to open an existing drawing, we can do so by clicking the open option over here. But in this case, we want to open a brand new drawing. So we can do that by clicking on the new option and browse templates. Over here, we can pick our template. In this case, Imperial Arquitecto is the one that we're going to pick because the units in the US is imperial. So that means in feet and inches. So the beauty of picking a template is that AutoCAD is going to set up our units for us. We don't have to worry about that anymore. And when we first time open a drawing, AutoCAD locate us in paper space. So in AutoCAD, there are two main environments. One is paper space, the one that you are seeing now, and the other one would be model space over here. So model space, 99% of the time, it's where we're gonna draw everything. And once we are ready to print or create a digital PDF, we can do it here in paper space. So for the first part, we're gonna start on model space here. And some of the three important elements on the interface is the ribbon over here. The ribbon have most of the tools and commands to draw and modify your objects. Then down here we have the command line. The command line is like a friend, especially when you are learning AutoCAD, because it will give you instructions for each command. For instance, if I start a command from the ribbon, the line command, and click on it, you can see that the command line immediately changed and is giving me instructions, specify first point. So that means I can click on my screen like so, and now it's asking to specify a next point. Okay, so that means I can keep clicking next points, like so. And to finish any command, we can press enter or escape. So I'm going to press enter to finish the line command. So that's the command line. And then the third important interface piece is the status bar over here at the bottom. So the status bar has some settings such as precision settings. For instance, if I start the line command again from the ribbon, or I could also type the keyboard shortcut for any command. For instance, for line would be L. So that would be the line command. And over here, if I now specify my first point, of course, I'm going to click, and you can see now if I activate maybe the ortho mode from the status bar, now you can see that I'm restricted to draw straight lines like so. So yeah, so I'm going to press enter again to finalize my line command. So those were three main important interface concepts: the ribbon, the command line, and the status bar. All right, now let's learn how to navigate in AutoCAD, how to move yourself inside the program. So to zoom in or out, we can scroll our middle mouse wheel like so to get closer to our items like so. To pan, we can simply hold the middle mouse wheel, click and hold it like so, so you can pan and locate your items quickly in AutoCAD. Finally, to zoom extends into your entire drawing, we can double click on the middle mouse wheel like so. The next thing that I want to show you is how to save your drawing, introducing you a new command, in this case the save command. What I like to do is use the Control S on my keyboard, so that way I can quickly save my drawing. Since this is the first time I'm saving this drawing, AutoCAD is going to ask you to rename my drawing residential half bath like so. So I can simply now click save like so. So let's start our first exercise using the rectangle command. So the rectangle command is here on the ribbon. However, we're gonna start using mostly keyboard shortcuts to quickly work in AutoCAD in a more efficient way. So the rectangle command would be the REC shortcut. And once we press enter, we need to follow instructions because we're learning AutoCAD. Says the command line specify first corner. So I'm gonna click over here anywhere on my screen once, and then the command line says specify other corner. Now, according to our survey, we have this rectangle, but we have specific dimensions, 5 feet 6 and so on. So that's why we're gonna click the dimensions option, and then the instructions change now. Says specify length of our rectangle. So that would be 2 feet 2 according to our survey. 2 feet 2. And over here we don't need to specify the inches character. AutoCAD already understands that. So we're gonna press enter, and then AutoCAD changed to specify the width of the rectangle. The width would be 5 feet 6. So I'm gonna type 5 feet and 6, and finally press enter. So over here, there is still some instructions for the rectangle command that says specify other corner point. So that means I need to click anywhere on my screen, and I'm gonna click here like so. So that's the rectangle that we draw. Again, I'm gonna zoom in with my middle mouse wheel. And then what we need, of course, is the walls of this half bath. So the walls, I can see it's 5 inches over here. By the way, on the materials also, we will have a site survey guide where we can go ahead and kind of understand what those measurements are, whether it's inches or feet. Okay, so the next command that we're gonna need is the offset command. So the offset command shortcut is the O, and we can simply use the offset command to create parallel lines of an object. In this case, I want to create an offset of this wall. So I'm gonna again utilize the O shortcut, and following instructions says specify offset distance. So the offset distance is gonna be 5 inches because that's the wall. So I'm gonna type 5 and press enter. And then the instruction says select the objects to offset. Of course, would be the rectangle. And finally says specify point on site to offset. That means if I move my cursor in this direction, it's gonna offset this way. But we don't want that because we already have the exact dimension for our interior rectangle or half bath. So what we want is to move it to the side like so, and click like that. So we have now to start thinking on how to draw the door for this half bath. So in order to do that, I'm going to use the line command. So the line command is here on the ribbon again, but we're going to use the keyboard shortcut L like so. And then I'm going to follow the instructions, specify first point. I'm going to hover over here, not click, but only hover on it and move down. And we can see that we have a extension line over here that shows as an X. So if you're not seeing that, there is an option over here on the status bar for the object snap. And here is the extension snap. So, okay, so let me hover again and move it down and type my distance of 11 inches, as you can see, for the start of the door. So again, move it down 11 inches, press enter, and now I can move to either side and click over here like so. To finish my line command, I can simply press escape or enter, and that way I draw a line to start my door over here. So what I can do next is copy this line down. I'm gonna select the line and using the copy command with its keyboard shortcut CO and pressing enter. Following the instructions, I need to specify my base point, which I want it to be this one. And then following instructions again, I need to specify a second point. So if I move it up, I'm gonna copy my line up, but I don't want that. I want to copy it down according to my survey. And that would be 2 feet. So I'm gonna move down and type 2 feet and press enter. You can see I can keep copying lines, but I'm done, so I'll press enter. Next, let me introduce you another command called trim. And the trim command is very helpful. You can start it with the keyboard shortcut TR. And the trim command will help us remove or trim some of this geometry. For instance, we need an opening for this door. So I can select my objects to start trimming it, or I can simply draw or select my objects like so to trim multiple objects at the same time. So I can press enter to finalize the trim command. Next, we will start adding some of these doors, toilets, and lavatories. We don't want to waste time doing this from scratch. In an office environment, we never do that. We try to reuse objects that we already drew. And that's why I shared these blocks over here. So I'm going to open it. And once you open it, you will have these residential blocks and items. So what I can do is simply copy all of this, selecting it and using the Control C on my keyboard to copy that. And I can go ahead and close this drawing. To close a drawing, you can simply click this X icon over here and will ask if you want to save this drawing. I don't want to save it, so I'm going to say no. And then I'm back into my project, into my half bath drawing, and I'm gonna paste this with Control V, and I'm gonna simply place it there. So let's add a door now to our half bath, and we have this door over here that it's a block. A block is simply many individual items put together into a single item. So to move a block, I'm gonna move it from this grip over here, selecting on it, and then clicking again on this. So here I need to rotate my door, and let me introduce you the rotate command with its keyboard shortcut RO. So once I do that, the instruction says specify base point would be over here, and then specify rotation angle. So that means depending on how I move my cursor, it will rotate. So I'm gonna click so. Next, what I like to do is go ahead and insert or place my toilet here. Again, this is another block, and let's move it from this grip and place it exactly on this midpoint like so. Awesome. Let's now move with the lavatory over here. So now this lavatory, as you can see, is not a block. And I did this intentionally to show you how we can create a block. These are simply rectangles and lines and circles. So let me first go ahead and select this lavatory and move it. This would be a brand new command, move. The move command, its keyboard shortcut is M. So, and then following instructions, I need to specify a base point. Now the base point needs to be in a very strategic location, because if we see our survey here, our lavatory is placed from this corner exactly. So I'm going to grab it from that corner and click, and then the instruction says specify second point. Okay, so my second point would be over here in this corner, and now I need to rotate my, so we already used the rotate command, I believe, but let's select our objects using the blue selection from left. So that way I only select the objects that are inside my blue rectangle, like so. And then I can use the rotate command with its shortcut RO. Following instructions, I'll pick my base point and then my rotation angle by clicking like so. Now we have a problem over here because our sink is smaller. According to our survey, it's 24 inches. So the way we can fix this is using the stretch command. So the stretch command, the keyboard shortcut is the S. So once we activate the stretch command, we can select our objects. Now, the stretch command is very strange in the way that you select it. If we select all of our objects, the whole lavatory will move, but we don't want that. So what we need to stretch is only selecting this part of our scene. If we select and include the circle will also stretch in this direction. So that's what we don't want. So let's stretch only this part of the lavatory and click like so. Following the instruction, select object, we already did. So let's simply press enter and then specify base point. So our base point, of course, would be this over here. So I'm gonna click because that's where I need to stretch my lavatory. Now, we cannot simply randomly stretch and place our next point over here because our lavatory has an exact dimension of 24 inches. So let me introduce you one of your first tricks in AutoCAD. And this trick is using the from command. So if you type from on the command line like so and press enter, you will have new instructions. Now it says specify a base point again. And we want that because if we specify our base point here by clicking on it, we can tell AutoCAD that from this base point, I want 24 inches in this direction. So I can simply type 24 and press enter, and boom, we have exactly the lavatory size that we need. Awesome. So that was the stretch command, a very advanced command, but very useful in AutoCAD. And you just learned your first trick also in AutoCAD. So next, I like to create a block from this lavatory. So I'm going to select everything and simply use the B shortcut to create a block. That's the block command. And once I do that or press enter, I can rename my block. So lavatory, maybe I can put the size 24 by 10. And I can click OK to specify my insertion base point. So again, that's very strategic. You don't want to place your base point over here because, as you can see on the survey, you will locate your lavatory from this corner. So I think the best option would be to click over here. So once you do that, now this becomes a block, as you can see. And the beauty of a block is that it will not only make your AutoCAD files lighter, but also if you have many of these lavatories, maybe you have a big project and you have 10 of these lavatories, whenever you edit this block by clicking on it and edit block, whenever you edit this, for instance, I'm going to stretch this, maybe smaller like that. So I can go ahead and save the changes to my block, and look what happened when I click OK. All of the blocks on my drawing will update automatically, so that way we can work more efficient in AutoCAD. So that's the advantage of using blocks. So let me undo with Control Z on my keyboard. That's the shortcut to undo because we don't want to do that. And that way I'm back to my drawing. So we are done adding our blocks on our half bath, and the next thing is start adding some annotations. First, we need to add a dimension. A dimension is simply a text with the exact size of this geometry or half bath, and a dimension, it's right on the ribbon. We can use that or also type its shortcut DIM. And press enter, of course. Following instructions says select objects. So that means I can select this wall here, and you can see immediately a dimension will show up. So I can simply click that, and finally following instructions says specify dimension location. So I like to place my dimensions outside my plan so it looks nice and clean. So I'm gonna place it here. And then we can keep adding dimensions. As you can see, again, it says select objects. So I'm going to specify this wall over here. Now I'm going to get closer and specify this wall like so, and I'm going to click on it. And finally specify dimension location, and I'm gonna place it around here. And to finish the dimension command, I can simply press escape or enter, and I'll be done placing my dimensions. Now, a problem that we can see immediately is the size of our dimension is very tiny. Don't worry about that. We'll fix the scale or size of our annotations all at once we figure out the scale of our drawing. So for now, let's keep moving, adding the annotations. And the next annotation I like to add is a text. So to use a text, we can use the text command in AutoCAD. However, there is a smarter text called mtext, which is shortcut MT. And I like to use this text because it has more flexibility. So I'm gonna use that mtext, and following instructions, specify first corner. I'm gonna specify my first corner here, and then it says specify opposite corner. So my opposite corner would be somewhere around here. Again, we can move our text later, that is not a problem. And then I can start typing my title. So I'm gonna say residential half bath, and I will also select everything with Control A and make it bolder, and then finally underline it, so that way this text can be bold and strong, which is not now because again it's very tiny. Again, don't worry about that, we'll fix it in a moment. So finally I'm gonna add another mtext, and this would be for the scale of our drawing. So I'm gonna click once, opposite corner again, and start typing the scale of our drawing. In this case, we don't know yet the scale. I'm gonna simply type X, but we know that it's gonna be equal to a foot. And then to finish this, I can simply click outside the text option. So I here on my screen, and it's time to figure it out our drawing scale. So in order to do that, we need to go to paper space or layout by clicking on it. We moved here because we are almost ready to print or create a PDF of our final drawing. We can see that we have some items here in paper space. The first thing is this title block that you can see is simply a block, the same as our door that we use, our sink. This is also a block, and a title block is simply a way for you to input some of the project name, date, scale, and so on. We also have a viewport. A viewport is here, and it's simply a window that we can utilize to scale our drawing and as well to see through our drawing in model space. We can see we have our drawing very tiny, but we can get inside the viewport by double clicking on it, and then we can zoom in or out. However, we cannot do it now because our viewport is locked. So let's unlock that by clicking on this icon, and that way I can zoom in and place my drawing like so. Now we cannot just pick a random scale, we had to pick a standard scale. So let's do that by clicking over here, and let's try a scale of maybe half or 1 inch. You can see at 1 inch equals a foot. Our drawing looks smaller still, so let's pick another scale, maybe 3 inches. And yes, 3 inches looks fine to me. And I'm gonna simply pan by holding the middle mouse wheel like so, and placing my object like so. Make sure that your scale again is a standard scale, and to get outside I'm gonna simply double click outside my viewport, and that way I'm ready to scale my annotation, because now we know that our drawing is using a scale of 3 inches equals a foot. So let's go back to model to fix some of these annotation sizes or scales. So in order to do that, we need the property palette. So the property palette, we can open it by using the PR shortcut. This will help us change some of the sizes and settings of our items. So let's select our dimensions and go ahead and find the scale. over here, dim scale overall. And now it's set to 1, but how do we know what scale should we set this up? We cannot just randomly pick one. Well, we can follow this scale chart that I provided. So now that we know our drawing scale, which is here, 3 inches equals a foot. If we go over here, we can see that the scale factor would be 4. So that's what we're gonna need. So remember that number and let's change it to 4 and press enter. So you can see our dimension immediately is bigger now. However, still it's not big enough, and that is because this dimension style, which is, let me find the dimension style here on the properties. So let's look for it, because it's important to know that if we want to increase the size even farther. It's right, dim style, it's standard, that's the name. So let's open the dialog box for the dimension using a command called dimst. So this will open the dimension style manager, which we already checked that standard was our dimensions. So if we modify this for the text height, we can see that the text is using 330 seconds, and this size is mostly used for big firms that use plenty of text and annotations, but for us 1/8 will work better. So that's a little bigger for the text of our dimensions. Let's click OK, and let's see what happened to our dimensions when we click close. So you can see immediately our dimension got bigger, and that's because we changed some of its settings. So now that we have our dimension size ready, let's do the same with our title. So our title, let's go ahead and go back to our chart. And again, for our 3 inches equals a foot scale, we can check that the title would be 1 inch. So that's what we're gonna pick. Let's change that to 1 inch from our property. And here, text height. So let's change it to 1, and we can immediately see the changes. So I'm gonna left click on it and drag it and move it here. And for our next text, in this case would be not a title, but would be a major heading. So that would be 0.75 inch. So let's do that. Over here, 0.75. And that way I can stretch this text from this point, and finally left click and drag it over here like so. And of course, at this point we already know our scale. So to edit a text, you can double click on it and change this to 3 inches equals a foot. So we are ready over here in model space. We are ready to export our drawing. So I'm going to close the property palette and go to layout or paper space. So let's create a PDF now. To create a PDF, we can use the Control P on our keyboard. That's the keyboard shortcut, and we will have these print settings. And PDF, that's the one that we need. The size 24 by 36, that's correct, because 24 is the size for this title block. Extend is fine, center the plot. Scale 1:1, that's also important to have it because we're picking a standard scale over here. So that's important to have it to 1:1. Scale lightweights. And then finally, under the plot style, we can pick monochrome, so it prints black and white. And let's do a preview, and as you can see, our drawing is looking nicely. And to finish this, we can go ahead and click the plot option, and we can save our drawing by clicking this over here, save. So AutoCAD now created this PDF, which is here, of our half bath at 3 inches equals a foot. Now the last part here is to save your drawing with the Control S shortcut on your keyboard, and then we can go ahead and close our drawing like so. What do you think about this exercise that we just went over to learn AutoCAD 2024?